Welcome to another edition of Global Conversations. My guest tonight, he's back. He's one of the best, Vladimir Kozin. Vladimir, welcome back to the show.
Hi, hello, Regis. Hi, hello.
So, Vladimir, there is so much that I have to ask you tonight because the information wars of the Ukraine, the EU, but especially the United States, is overwhelming. The lies, the misinformation or disinformation are just overwhelming. But here's what everybody wants to know. It's been reported this past week when the Russian troops pulled back from Kiev. It's been reported in the West that Russia is losing. Russia is losing so badly they had to pull back. Tell me what is really happening there, Vladimir.
Yeah, Regis. Yes, it was absolutely clear. Today, President Vladimir Putin, being in the Russian far eastern part of the cosmodrome called Vostochny, admitted that this retreat from several areas in Ukraine previously captured by Russian troops, this retreat has been done intentionally to create a much more favorable atmosphere for the current Russian-Ukrainian official talks on resolution of this impasse. But unfortunately, instead of reading our step forward in the right direction, Kiev decided to use this kind of thing. Yes, right, you are. They claim that we just lost the battle, we are retreating, we do not have enough resources and manpower. But actually, Kiev and specifically Mr. Zelensky created a number of provocations, staged provocations, deliberately organized and deliberately implemented. And today, Belarusian president, who also was the guest of honor for President Vladimir Putin in the Russian far eastern part, he said that he has got enough evidence that, for example, the staged performance created in Bucha, not far away from Kiev, that was freed by Russian troops, was deliberately organized and staged by British Special Services. And Mr. Lukashenko shared with Mr. Putin some documents, testifying that his statement is correct. Today I prepared a special report number 40, and after our meeting with you I will share with you as well, and it depicts a real picture of what had happened. So in Kramatorsk, for example, when cluster ballistic missile called in Russian .U or .U, which is very harmful, very powerful. It has more than 15,000 shrapnel particles, shrapnel pieces of metal. Also was deliberately arranged, but it was not staged provocation. It was a kind of without any mercy, physical killing of Ukrainian civilians that assembled at the train station in Kramatorsk. still under control of the Ukrainian troops. And this Tochka missile was fired from Dobropolye, also the place controlled by the Ukrainian armed forces. So a lot of lies. Yesterday I took part in the web conference arranged by Bulletin of Atomic Scientists of the United States of America. And Ukrainian participants use this kind of thing to use this kind of thing devoted to totally different issue. They use this kind of web seminar, Zoomed seminar, just to criticize Russia for atrocities, etc., etc. And I had to rebuff this kind of false allegations and fake stories. Regis?
Well, it seems to me, Vladimir, that Ukraine have very sophisticated groups of people who are experts at information war. And the question that everybody I know is asking, why is Russia not doing more in this information war, these psychological operations? Why is Russia not doing more to counter all of these lies and disinformation? It seems like Russia is being very tight-lipped, very quiet, and basically are just going about their business.
Yes, I mean, this kind of statement is correct. We are much weaker. In what sense? In what way? We do not invent fake stories. We do not stage provocative plays, spectacular opera, and involving poor people. We cannot be blamed about this. We just strong with our truth, and not in spreading lies like Kiev is doing. The second reason is that we are explaining this kind of thing, but soon after they took place, I mean, fake stories or just shelling innocent civilians, like in Kramatorsk at the train station. We are just explaining, and for example, in this particular case, dealt with Kramatorsk tragedy at the railway station. We just presented to the world community specific serial numbers of those missiles that were used by Ukrainian armed forces in Donetsk, in Mariupol, and finally in Kramatorsk. And after Kramatorsk, the Ukrainian armed forces again and again used Tochka U cluster missiles, again in two places in Donbass, versus innocent civilian people. Many of them are Ukrainian citizens, not Russians, though they can speak Russian or Ukrainian, but they are Ukrainians. Another setback of ours is that unlike in the world community, Ukraine and NATO have special units to proliferate such fake stories or propaganda tricks around the world. They use English as the very widely known international language, probably number one in terms of its employment everywhere. We do not have enough experts with essential English command. And if you visit our websites, you may see that not all Russian mass media structures are using English as the second language in this particular job. They use Russian, but not too many people know Russian language, I mean abroad. There are many experts, but not, it's not a big community. So, and many Russian experts, including myself, not only hint, but actually put in a very straightforward sense that we need to proliferate our views and ideas in English and in other key international language. Like, for example, at the United Nations, there are a number of official languages like Russian, English, Chinese, French, Spanish, so Arabic. Yeah, why not? For example, the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs translates its written statements in several foreign languages, but that's not enough because not all people are visiting Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs website. The same story is with the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation. There are a number of foreign languages they use on their main portal or main internet website, but not too many people are visiting them. Another explanation is that a number of Western mass media companies simply block access of foreigners to the Russian sources of information, even official sources of information. This is very important because they are responsible. Otherwise, they may be called to a courtroom for a trial. So a lot of unresolved issues, and as you have noticed, we at our website at MGIMO University, we use not only Russian but English as well, and disseminate our own composition of with a detailed description of events and how they have been unfolded, how they have been developed, and what is the truth behind this. No need to tell more and more about this thing because it's very important. It creates a negative feature of the Russian Federation in the eyes of the world public. It helps NATO to pump extra additional lethal arms, both defensive and offensive nature, to Ukrainian armed forces and to national battalions and regiments. Yes, and it just brought quite an abnormal situation when we have been expelled from a number of international organizations for nothing, for empty and faked news, deliberately disseminated and circulated around the globe. Regis?
Yeah, well, it's completely disgusting, and it's evil what the Ukrainians are doing, but also the Americans, the Brits, and others, the French. It's just completely disgusting what they are doing. It's just the proliferation of lies and misinformation. Now, there's another big topic on the minds of people around the world: the biolabs that Russia has found, some 30. I have heard that what they found in the basements of some of these labs are some of the most unthinkable things, experiments on humans that only took place in the Nazi regime in Germany. Some things like mutilated children's bodies. Uh, they were attempting to crossbreed animals and humans. Have you heard anything about this, Vladimir?
Yes, I mean, the investigation conducted by the agencies concerned in the Russian Federation dealing with the American slash Ukrainian biological laboratories is underway. And the Ministry of Defense of the Russian Federation arranged four very comprehensive briefings to this effect and showed plenty of real documents proving that such labs existed, and even Victoria Nuland just confessed on the oath at the U.S. Senate Foreign Relations Committee, March the 8th, that such labs really existed before 24th February this year, when we started the military operation against Ukraine. But we have plenty of documents. All of them have been made public and open for the general public in Russian and in English. And there is a direct linkage between the Pentagon and Ukrainian armed forces who run this kind of biolabs. They took blood samples from 4,000 Ukrainian GIs and tried to understand what kind of highly virulent diseases like cholera, then tularemia, then the illness of wild pigs, something horrible. Yes, have been experimented with real blood samples borrowed from the Ukrainian soldiers and officers and other people. So it's quite obvious, but it was very funny that when I visited the Bulletin of Atomic Scientists website yesterday, I came across an article written by a lady who claimed to be an expert in biological weapons. I don't remember exact name, but you can, and other people can visit the website of Bulletin of Atomic Scientists. And when I sent my comment about this kind of four briefings conducted by the MOD of the Russian Federation with my own remarks, they initially replied to my comment, we will sort it out whether to post it or not, and then decided better not. So they are afraid of truth, because official US agencies like Pentagon and son of current US President Joseph Biden, Mr. Hunter Biden, was and is directly involved in funding this kind of biolabs of the United States slash Ukrainian facilities in Ukraine. It was evident fact, and even a number of Western newspapers published these documents by themselves. So it's a vivid fact, and it will be more and more vivid as soon as the investigation will be finalized in the Russian Federation. And I would like to add that a special joint parliamentary commission to investigate the case dealt with the biolabs in Ukraine was created together with the upper house of the Russian Federal Parliament, the Senate, and the State Duma, the lower house of the Russian Federal Parliament. They will be co-chaired by Mrs. Yarovaya and Mr. Kosachev. They are both deputy chiefs of respective houses of our federal assembly. It's called Federal Assembly, Federal Parliament. So soon we will get more and more information concerning these BLMs, and it will become extremely unprofessional to deny such facts. Better it could be to confess, said that sorry, we were wrong, we will never do this kind of thing because the United States of America and Ukraine have signed and ratified International Convention on Banning of biological, bacteriological, and toxic weapons. And they should be tried, both Washington and Kyiv, for such a colossal wrongdoing and experiments over humans, experiments involving wild birds as a potential delivery system to deliver such virulent diseases to the mainland Russian Federation, and the bats as well, wild bats, also was selected as a species to deliver those microbes or those pathological substances. So horrible scenario. What people are doing, I cannot imagine and couldn't imagine, let's say 30 years ago when or even deeper, earlier when I studied the U.S. policy. It's a great sin. It's a great fault. It's a great blunder of Washington and Kyiv for such a poor misbehavior and experimenting on weapons of mass destruction, because not only nukes are regarded as weapons of mass destruction or weapons of mass annihilation, but also chemical weapons and biological, in parentheses, bacteriological and toxic agents. Also, it's a weapon of mass destruction. Regis?
Yeah, and you know, these biological weapons labs do exist in America, but they're totally illegal. And everybody who's involved in it, according to law, American law, are punishable by death for the experimentation that they're doing on this. And that is why the United States has many of these biological weapons labs in Ukraine and Georgia and other countries, because they're not permitted to do this kind of thing in the United States. Anyway, I want to move on to another very, very important topic, Mariupol. There are a couple of things I want to ask you. First of all, it has been in the news that there are some very important people who are in Mariupol in the Azovstal steel mill that would be very embarrassing for the United States and NATO countries if they were captured. It's been reported that there were helicopter attempts, suicide missions to get some of these people out. Some of the helicopters were shot down. Everybody has agreed that some of them got out, and they must have had some important people. But there are still important people, and one story had it that there was an American general that was holed up there.
Yes.
What can you tell me? What can you tell me that you know for sure is really happening in terms of these very important people?
Yes, I do not remember their names, but they appeared in the internet space. One of them is Major General, and the second one, if I remember correctly, Colonel. They are top guns. They know a lot of information concerning secret clandestine operations run by the United States of America all over the world. And Americans, Washington, the White House, and Kiev, Mr. Zelensky, wanted to save these two military men from secret services of the United States of America back home. I don't know whether they have succeeded in so doing. I'm not sure. I haven't received any reliable information. But if we just capture them, we would like to exchange them for two guys illegally sentenced to many, many years in prison. I mean Victor Bout, who got 25 years of imprisonment for wrongdoing, but he has not done anything negative. He was blamed that he sold or tried to sell any kind of military equipment abroad. But look, Regis, it is impossible for any individual Russian citizen to sell any kind of weapons abroad, like tanks, helicopters, just interceptor fighters, etc., etc. It's impossible because we have a very tough system, because private persons cannot sell arms and they cannot transfer or sell arms abroad. They cannot buy arms from the state. Only the state, Rosabaronexport, and the government as the supervisor can issue permission what kind of weapons can be sold abroad to specific countries and what not. And there is a special UN register for arms sales, and all countries are obliged to give proper information concerning such arms sales abroad. The second factor is that through 6 helicopters, 3 choppers belonging to the Ukrainian armed forces, tried to rescue somebody, top guns from besieged Azovstal or Azovstal industrial complex in Mariupol. It's like a city in the city, a huge and tremendous factory, tremendous plant. And one helicopter was hit, and 2 persons were seized alive, and we just offered them medical assistance, so they will recover very soon, to judge by in TV interview with 2 of them. They spoke Russian language. So, but they have not confirmed. They said that the very important persons were supposed to be brought to be saved from Azovstal, from Mariupol by helicopters, but all these attempts, as I said, failed absolutely. All helicopters were damaged, destroyed. One just splashed down to the Azov Sea and sank no survivors. There were also attempts to use a merchant ship to go to Mariupol seaport, to save the bosses, the chieftains of the Azov nationalistic battalion from Mariupol. Also failed. We captured this vessel after just firing preliminary shots and then exact pinpoint shot, and the ship was damaged. There was a fire, but extinguished by the crew. Nobody was hurt, but the civilian ship was taken to Russian port for further examination. But nowadays, Mariupol seaport is in the hands of the Donetsk People's Republic troops and the Russian troops. Only Azov Stal is in the hands of these gangsters. And people say that there are 3,000 or 1,500 remaining, but their fate is doomed. So plenty of them have already surrendered, like Ukrainian Marines. They also were inside this Azov Steel company. Others were also just saved and laid down their arms and ceased resistance. But unfortunately, there are a number of foreign mercenaries sitting in Azov Steel, and Russian intelligence officers eavesdropped communication, verbal communication between Ukrainian armed forces and those people surrounded in Mariupol, and they discovered that the foreigners were using 6 European languages like Danish, English, French, American English, and English, and Ukrainian as well, Georgian, by the way. But as I said, that Mariupol will fall very, very soon, because those defenders of Azov Steel, they do not have enough ammunition, their morale is very low, they do not have potable water, food, etc. But they unfortunately still are using Ukrainian civilians, the citizens of Mariupol, as a human shield. And it's very bad, because we opened several corridors in both directions, in the east and to the west, to give a chance to the civilians in Mariupol to escape from these calamities. We even offered the nationalistic battalions to surrender, to save their lives, even giving them a commitment by saying that if you just surrender, if you lay down arms, we will not chase you, we will never just convict you of any wrongdoing. You will be liberated and freed and to go whatever you wish. But nevertheless, there are too many stubborn people, like fanatics, like lunatics, like mad personalities who would like to resist till they die.
Another question about Mariupol. I heard today that the Russian forces do not want to storm the Azovstal steel mill because too many people will die on the Russian side. What I heard were they were either going to flood them out, just use water and hoses to flood them out, or they were going to use smoke or tear gas to force them to come out into the open. Is there any truth to any of that, Vladimir?
I haven't heard about any attempts to use any gases to let them out. I haven't heard anything like this, but you know, it's not a residential area. It's a steel mill, right? You are. It's a proper term. So there are no houses on the territory of this Azov steel mill. So we can use heavy bombardment and heavy artillery and heavy mortars like Tulpan. It's a huge mortar system. We have the Russian armed forces. So and use other weapons with pinpoint accuracy because we cannot leave them just unattended. This group of gangsters and terrorists who are hiding still at the premises of Azov steel mill because they are killers. They killed a lot of people in Donbass, and it's very close. If you look at the map, Mariupol is located very close to Donetsk, the Donetsk People's Republic, and certainly it's a part of administrative Donetsk region inside the administrative border of the former Ukraine, right? So we will just eliminate this kind of people without any remorses, without any hesitation, because they deserve it. They have plenty of blood on their hands. Regis?
So I have two more questions.
Mm-hmm.
In your reports, almost daily, you've got 40 reports now. You pay special attention to the Russian humanitarian aid that the Russians are bringing into liberated parts of Ukraine. But I have heard a report just recently that, and this from Russian people, some people here in Crimea, and they get their reports from some people in Russia, that there are many Russian convoys that are stopped at the border and cannot go through, convoys of humanitarian aid. Is there any truth to that, Vladimir, that much of the humanitarian is being stopped at the borders?
No. Yes, it's not a real story because look, we usually send our convoys via Donbass, via Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics. These two republics have common border with the Russian Federation. This common border has not been blocked by the Ukrainian armed forces or Ukrainian nationalist battalions or regiments. So we are free to deliver this kind of humanitarian aid by trucks, by heavy-duty trucks, absolutely free, without any customs, without border guards, etc., because it's like a common border of two friendly republics on one hand, Donetsk and Lugansk, and the Russian Federation on the other side. But unfortunately, the Ukrainian armed forces prevented Russian humanitarian convoys to go deeper into the liberated area of Ukraine, liberated by the Russian troops and Lugansk and Donetsk troops, because more than 90% of Lugansk region, Lugansk territory has been already liberated, right? More than 60% of Donetsk People's Republic territory, I mean administrative territory of this republic has been liberated, has been freed. But unfortunately, if we deliver this humanitarian aid deep into Ukrainian territory that never belonged to Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic, right? We have confronted with many cases when Ukrainian armed forces ambushed this kind of humanitarian convoys. And even we spotted several soldiers of the Ukrainian army who acted as a coordinator, as a person who supplies heavy artillery and heavy mortars to destroy these convoys, because they hate that Russia is delivering humanitarian aid to Ukrainian citizens. They even kill, plenty of cases. The Ukrainian armed forces killed a lot of Ukrainian citizens who received Russian humanitarian assistance, humanitarian aid, because they are afraid that these people will took the Russian side and will not support the Ukrainian side. And so this is very negative attitude of the Kiev regime towards humanitarian assistance. And in a number of reports, I gave accumulate figure of how many tons of humanitarian assistance rank and file people and various Russian NGOs and official governmental establishments collected this kind of humanitarian aid and sent it to Donbass, to Lugansk, Donetsk, and liberated areas of Ukraine. And by the way, I have forgotten, but I would like to remind you a very peculiar story concerning these two U.S. military men from special services. Ukrainian leaders are ready to kill them physically, to destroy these two persons physically, being afraid that if they captured alive by Russians or by troops of Donbass, they will tell a lot of highly sophisticated, very sensitive information to the Russian military. They even Ukrainians want to kill American guys on their territory simply because they are proprietor, they are holder of a highly sensitive information. I haven't heard anything like this before in any armed forces. So only the United States of America is responsible for those two military gentlemen, either still in Mariupol or escaped or killed. I don't know what had happened to them, but their good names are open. If there is a need, I can find the good names. Reportedly appeared in the internet website. Regis?
Yeah, no, I've heard the same thing. One last thing I want to ask you, Vladimir. In your reports, you give an update of the military action on the ground. Can you tell me and give me an overview of Russian successes, Russian advances in the last few days? I have heard that Russia has made some incredible advances, taken out many, not only command centers, but installations, but 40 to 50 Ukrainian, and I would guess in some cases, Nazis, eliminated them. Is this actually happening right now?
So if such cases happened on the battleground, on the battlefield, it's a logical outcome. See, because any person with a arm or grenade launcher or sitting in the armored personnel carrier or in the tank is your enemy. Either he will kill you or you will kill him. It's obvious story because it's a military confrontation. Um, but what we are going to do, we would like to save more lives of Russian soldiers and officers in Ukraine. We would like to save the lives of civilians, even Ukrainian citizens with the Ukrainian citizenship, and offer them any assistance, supplying with humanitarian aid, offering medical assistance, medical aid, offering potable water, etc. But we would like to destroy all military machine of the war criminals still sitting in Kiev, because we would like to destroy all supply routes of weapons delivered from NATO countries to Ukrainian armed forces. It doesn't matter what kind of routes NATO will use on the ground, at sea, in the air, or just any other way. They will be destroyed, and all military ammunition depots, command and control centers. It's not necessary to capture village by village and not saving the human lives of ours and Ukrainians if they do not want to fight any longer, and if they want to surrender, to lay down their arms. I have heard that we will use strategic offensive arms, but not nuclear, because heavy strategic bombers of the Russian Federation have been used frequently against the international terrorist jihadist groups in Syria, and quite successfully, because they can load a lot of conventional bombs, guided with a pinpoint accuracy and very powerful. And we can also use them. We still have not used them, but we have to use them. Why not? If the United States used also this kind of heavy strategic bombers, probably equipped with nuclear weapons, that flew over the entire Ukraine, coming from Poland and coming very close to the Russian shores and to Donbass 2 years ago, and very close to the city called Mariupol. So we have also the same right to overfly Ukrainian territory and to use heavy strategic bombers with conventional arms as well against those highly protected command and control system, command and control bunkers of the Ukrainian armed forces. And I've heard that we can use the father of all bombs, with a huge bomb. The United States of America has a less huge conventional bomb called mother of all bombs, but we have much stronger father of all conventional bombs. We can use against this highly protected and deeply buried, deeply hidden under the ground of command and control systems and ammunition depots and another just military hardware assembly areas. So it's a reality, because we have had plenty of stories that NATO will enhance the volume of supplies of heavy weapons. If so, we will destroy these kind of heavy weapons. Better, better to start talks and negotiations. If Kiev has at least 1 milligram of reason in its brain, he, Mr. Zelensky, actually, as the president and commander-in-chief, should lay down arms and said publicly to the entire world, I will never attack Donbass anymore. I will not be a member of the NATO alliance. I will never be a nuclear weapon state. I will not have any claims in the long run, in the future. No claims for Crimea and for Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republic. I will never run biolabs on my territory, and I will pay back for all atrocities I have committed during three latest Ukrainian presidents against Donbass, when 14,000 people have been killed and more than 30,000 wounded and crippled during the first aggressions they have committed earlier. Regis?
So, in summary, is the Russian special operation being successful, proceeding according to plan?
You mean operation?
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Well, yes, operation. And even today, speaking at the Far Eastern Cosmodrome, President Vladimir Putin, he is also commander-in-chief of the Russian Armed Forces, he said that this operation he announced on the 24th February will be completed, will be finalized according to the goals prescribed by the highest political and military establishment of the Russian Federation. So, denazification of Ukraine and demilitarization of Ukraine. Two major goals. And the rest I have already enumerated them. See, nothing more, no other claims, no other goals have been specified from our side additionally in terms of Ukrainian developments. But what we have said, we will implement.